so much of architecture school takes our energy and our attention away from our friends, our family, all that stuff. And so then diving right into the exams can do the same. And so taking that little break is really helpful. Okay, so what did your process or your path look like after you graduated? Were you like right into the exams, or did you give yourself a break, or what did that look like?
Yeah. Again, like the timing of like having that 2 year extended break after high school kind of like threw the normal timing off for someone to be finishing grad school or undergrad school. Sorry. I ended up getting engaged, got married, needed to breathe for a minute. So a couple years went by with just take a break. A lot happened right now. And, just kind of tried to soak it in for a little bit. And I knew what was coming. And I knew once I started, I wanted to be really committed to it and see it all the way through with no stops, because that's the kind of person I am. But, we stayed, my husband and I met at New School. We stayed in San Diego for a couple of years, worked around town, and then had some unfortunate family events going on that led us to move to his hometown in Pennsylvania. We ended up moving to Philly. So we lived there for a couple of years. And that's really where I started to get into the exams, get into getting my license. At that point, I had already knocked out most of my IDP hours and was well on my way to like just knocking them out.
So how do you feel that helped set you up for the exams, taking that break?
I think critical. The exams are such a marathon. It's not a sprint. And knowing that, and I mean, at the time it was still 4.0, and I heard that they were switching to 5.0. And I know some people were really trying to jump on the train to like drop that one exam, but I was just like, that sounds like too much for me at this time. And I just knew it'd be better for me to just take a break, take a breather, catch my breath after, 5 years of very intense design school, and just kind of get ready for the next step. And I'm really grateful I did it that way. It gave us time to adapt to life. Like a lot of life happens in these years. Like I think that's the biggest thing that I didn't expect was, you say the exams, you say the path, you say the route that you need to go, and then you kind of forget like, oh yeah, those are kind of the years that all these big life things happen. And it can be really intimidating to figure out how to get through all of it together.
Yeah, it is so true. And it's so much of architecture school takes our energy and our attention away from our friends, our family, all that stuff. And so then diving right into the exams can do the same. And so taking that little break is really helpful. And I love hearing other people's stories because I give my perspective of what worked for me, but it's nice to hear what worked for other people too, because it does make sense to take a little break for a bit, work, have those big life experiences, and actually be able to really enjoy them too while you're doing that, which is huge.
Yeah. And especially like if anyone like me, like you're all in, like you go into that cave and we don't come out. So yeah, with how everything played out with the exams, it was very unexpected, and I'm just happy that I got through it.
Well, so yeah, what was that process like for you for your exams? Like, what did your timeline look like? If you have any strategies or any helpful tips or anything?
Yeah, of course. Okay. The firm that I started working with in Philly, I actually picked them because on their website they had some award for like helping employees progress in their careers or something. And that's kind of how I made my decision between a couple of places. And I'm so glad I did. They had so much set up in advance that really all I had to do was kind of like step in and look around and kind of decide which way I wanted to go. It wasn't so much groundwork for me, which was such a relief because it looked really overwhelming with those giant lists of reading material and endless chapters and forums. And yeah, it's really overwhelming when you first jump in. So there was like a group of us, group of women that kind of went through it together. And when I started, I had already done, in my years off, I kind of did some light reading just to get an idea of like, well, where are the boundaries on this? Like, how far are we? How big are we talking? How detailed are we talking? I think I read Ballast in those 2 years that I kind of took off just kind of at my own pace. And by the time we started taking our exams, I kind of had an idea of like, this is how I want to do it. I wanted to take them in 6 months. That was the plan, or at least within a year, like attempt in 6, and then at least within a year have touched all of them. I started at the end of 2019, and then I think I had one unexpected fail, which really threw me off my game for a minute. And then life continued happening, and then kind of had to just kind of pick it up and put it back down. And then COVID, and pick it up and put it back down. It was really a lesson in like life for me on how to adapt to what you're given. And then somewhere in the end of that is when I got pregnant and had the unexpected pregnancy of, all the challenges that came with that. And that really put things on hold.
So where were you at? What exam or how many did you have left when you got pregnant?
So I had 2 left, PPD and PDD. That's how I set mine up. I had already prepared for them. I already had them scheduled. They were within a month of each other. Like, I was ready. And then we found out we were pregnant at the beginning of October, and my exam was at the end of October. And by the time of the exam time, I was already really, really unwell and I just didn't know what was going on. So I just kind of went on with it. And then I got told, like, no, we're taking a big break from this. So yeah.
So are you comfortable sharing your story a little bit about that? About your pregnancy and the unexpected things that you ended up facing?
Yeah, I had hyperemesis throughout my pregnancy. It was really advanced at the beginning for me. I think for some people it doesn't come into a little bit later, but mine just came in real strong, real fast at the beginning. And basically with hyperemesis, you're unable to eat, drink, really do anything. I couldn't look at my phone. I couldn't watch TV without getting sick. Like, everything would just put me off my game. So somehow I, probably through just sheer determination, managed to sit through my exam. I vividly remember taking the exam. It was at the same testing center that I'd gone to for all my other exams. And at some point I kind of knew, like, this isn't going to be a pass. Like, we just need to wrap this up and get home. And then the next day I had to go to the ER because it had been too many days had gone by now where I was vomiting and just couldn't keep any water down. And thankfully my husband, always with a clear head, was like, something's not right. We got to call the doctor. It was too early for any of my checkups. That's the crazy thing is, they don't normally see you till you're 10 weeks. And I was only 6 or 8 at that point, and it was just too severe. So after all that, they told me, you can't spend a single calorie on anything but making your baby. And that's when we kind of had to put everything on hold. I took a long extended leave from work. And at the end of all of that is how we ended up making our decision to move back to California.
Wow. It's so hard because, deciding to have a baby in the first place is a big decision. And, when it's unexpected too, it's even more of like oh my gosh, in my case, we knew we were going to be getting pregnant, but we didn't realize we'd get pregnant so soon. So you may have seen me walking around New School, like 8 months pregnant.
I remember this actually.
Yeah. So I gave birth right in the middle of my thesis year, and it was so unexpected, so wonderful, but it does throw a whole new level of difficulty into it. A whole new level of, if a guy has a wife who's pregnant, it can still be difficult to go through the whole process. There's new added stressors, but they're not physically sick or in bed or having to be told you actually have to put this on hold. And that must have been not only physically difficult, but I'm sure mentally difficult as well.